Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our strength where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back to Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here today with Brian, the shitty webcam. What's up, dude?
Nothing much. You know, my phone app just wanted to stop working, so gonna have to finally break down and order a real camera.
It's time to join the 21st century, Brian. Welcome. We've been waiting for you. Or have you always been living? You've been living in the 50th century with the phone to the computer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who knows what you're doing with that data? You be setting it up. Being big
a little
creepy.
Thing called OnlyFans.
I knew it. Cody. Dude. So you were telling us, and you didn't tell us what, but that you checked off one of your bucket list items this week. Weekend.
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah. You know, it was a big weekend for my family. One of those kind of things that sort of changes the trajectory of how life's going to go. And, you know, I think even my kids, my grandkids, great grandkids, it's one of those massive things that you're just like, okay, what does this mean for them? You know, how does this shape the future of our family tree? And everybody's kind of got a bucket list, whether it's, you know, written down or kind of metaphorical. But I mean, this is a locked and loaded top 5 for me. No other way about it. Maybe top 3. It is right up there. And so, you know, I actually thought, hey, let's bring it to the party here. Let everybody else see, you know, what happened so important this weekend. It's a great thing. So let's do it.
Oh man, I'm pumped. I'm jacked. Oh, is that what? Oh, I thought Brian had it. Don't worry.
I have nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Can I video this? Got it. Oh my God, I love it.
Dude, the end gets me so good. She tries to slide the 5. So real quick, before you talk about this, or I guess when you're talking about this, describe what, if somebody is listening to us, what just happened.
Yeah. So Flower Man, I think it's been a thing for a few years now. I've seen
Flower
him,
Girl.
you know, Flower. Yeah, I mean, same thing, right? So,
yeah.
2022 Mario, get with the times.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's something I've actually pitched the idea to a few people now because ever since I saw, you know, it kind of became popular on social media. I'm like, I think I'd really like to do this.
I've never heard of this.
I've probably asked 3 or 4 people and I kept getting no's. And I got to a point
you
where
asked
it was a
me?
joke. I asked you.
Asked me.
Yeah, I asked my buddy Evan. There's been several. Definitely been several. It's been a thing for a while.
So whose wedding was this?
It's actual bucket list.
Whose wedding was this?
Yeah, Colton and Casey are their names. They're friends from high school. So they're a little younger than me in high school, kind of people you become friends with later, but they went to the same high school as me. So Yeah, my brother-in-law and sister were in the wedding, and so we were talking with them one night, and I was like, "You should just let me be flower man." And instantly, Casey, the girl, she's like, "Yeah, absolutely, you need to do it." I'm like, "Oh, this is
So
actually
did you
happening."
know these people in the audience? Like that old guy was not
Probably
having
20%.
it.
Maybe 20%.
That old guy was not having it.
No, there was definitely a couple people like, what is happening? But here's what made it really good too. So I
when you
showed up
mentioned this altering the trajectory of your family tree, I think you meant like some are gonna cut off your branch, right? Like you're not gonna talk to them again after.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure my wife's leaving.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, she loved it. I heard her.
She did in fact say though that she never thought that she would be turned on by a fanny pack.
I never thought I'd be turned on by a fanny pack, honestly.
Dude,
And what made it really good too is I showed up probably an hour before the wedding, but I showed up with, my bow tie, my suspenders, my flower shirt, fanny pack. Like I was already decked out. And so I'm just standing there as people are walking in, and every single person is like, "What is this dude doing right now? Like, why is he standing here?" Because they didn't know what was coming.
You should have been giving away high fives, get the people going. And honestly, I got to wonder, like, is this, so we're trying to make it in this fantasy football world, but I think this is your path, dude. I think this is the route you should go. I think you have a better pay for hire, maybe do it for free,
Well, and
do
honestly,
God's work out there.
I had these thoughts. It doesn't have to just be weddings, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s. Who knows?
Bachelor parties.
So if we need you for any funerals, we can give you a call to be the flower girl.
Yeah,
That's dark.
yeah, absolutely. For funerals, I wear less clothing, but same idea.
This has gotten off the rails.
Hold on, I have one more question, Cody. Do you
Yes, please.
do you do the twerking part on the casketeer?
I don't think I can even get it.
We're going. Cody, did you have any last thoughts on your flower girl? Like, did you want to live
I
it
got
up a
actually
little
just
bit longer?
one more thing. Just one more thing. So I've known this is coming for 6 months, and I've been really excited. But I just picked the song, 5 or 6 days before it. But I knew it was coming. I thought about it like this is going to be great. Bought the outfit. I go to the rehearsal dinner the night before, feeling good. I get there the day of, start having a couple of drinks. Like I'm confidence through the roof. Like I'm feeling like I got the outfit down. Like there's zero questions for 6 months. I am just pure confidence, just absolutely ready to go. Walking down that hill. Yeah, walking down that hill, I'm like, oh boy, I'm about to have a panic attack. Like it hit me.
No.
Yes. And I'm like trying to breathe through my nose. Like, but then as soon as the music went, it just goes out of your mind. Like the fight or flight then flipped and it felt great.
See, I have more questions about this now. So
okay,
first question, I'll hit them with you both right now. First question is, what were some of the other song choices that were at least like sat in your head where you were like closely considering?
Some sugar on me.
That would have been good.
That was one somebody wanted. There was, and I'm really bad with name songs. I think it's Missy Elliott, but it's like Shake It or like
put that thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
It was something along those lines. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was like a Missy Elliott song. That's actually what I wanted to go with, and I was pushed in this direction. But I feel like it hit well.
Second question is, when you, how many times did you have to rehearse this in your basement? Were you like full on?
Mario, I actually butchered it. It's fortunate that it looks as good as it does because I didn't rehearse it. I just knew kind of what I wanted to do, but I never ran it through. I didn't run it through at rehearsal dinner. The song that he had to cut the song because they had 1 minute and 20 seconds. And I just ripped right through there in like 40 seconds. And so they had to just whack it off. So
I mean, were you supposed to do a little bit of, never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Yep. Nope, we're not.
So basically, I mean, never ran it through, knew an idea of like, okay, I'm going to do a spin and I'm going to drop it on the groom's mom, like that kind of stuff. But really thought it was going to take longer. And I had way too much music, way too much music.
And I'm gonna move us in here because this is a good transition. What's our dad bod fantasy squad segment of the day? Dad bod topic. Sorry.
Yeah. Wedding attire, man. Wedding attire. So hitting some of the things like bow tie or tie. Are you wearing suspenders? Are you going no tie with a jacket? What's your go-to, Brian?
My go-to is usually just a shirt and a tie, rolled up sleeves. I've started wearing suspenders a little more often these days. But if we're talking classic dad bod attire, it's probably like jeans and like a button-up shirt that might be Hawaiian, might not be. I'm not one of those guys. I use the rare occasion to get dressed up to dress up. So I actually enjoy going to weddings because it lets me go through all my different teaching shirts and really mix up the combos.
I feel like a button up and a tie is like absolutely perfect teacher. That's what every teacher wears. Like it's such a teacher move, button up and tie with no jacket.
Yep.
Not a bad look. It's 100%.
I have a jacket and a whole suit actually, but one I'm not sure where it's at. I actually have 2 suits, and I'm not sure where either of them are at. And they're hot. So I probably that's one thing.
Like
I
what
hate
kind of hot? Like 2
being
T's or 1 T?
Say that again. What about
Two
tees?
2 T or 1 T hot?
Like hot.
So
Like,
Brian
I
wears
think
like,
that is 1 T.
Brian wears like 3 t-shirts under his dress shirt.
I was going like, is it sexual hot? That was my 2 T version.
I got that after a minute. It took me a minute. But no, I'm talking like hot with 1 T because I hate being hot at weddings. Because you're always dehydrated because you're drinking and you're dancing, so you're sweating. So having a jacket on, it's just another thing to lose.
Well, you definitely do lose the jacket. The jacket, if you're going to jacket it, it's ceremony and then,
reception, you pop that bad boy off.
Yep.
But when I say lose, I mean like actually lose it. Like you're not gonna find
okay.
it
Like
again.
it's not yours anymore.
No.
Yes, because Brian is 12 years old.
Yes.
And he loses his goodies. Responsibility.
Yeah.
Mario, as you
Buddy,
age
I
with grace, I feel like you could be becoming a bow tie kind of guy.
No.
Dude, I don't own
No.
any bow ties, and I haven't.
don't own any.
I
don't-
own
But I
one
would
now.
love to wear some.
I don't
Mario's
like
that kind of
dig the
hipster
bow
that
tie.
would wear a bow tie, though.
He is. Doesn't
I've
he
never
look like
done
he'd
it.
have a bow tie?
Never wore a bow
For
tie
sure.
in my life. I just
He
don't.
looks like
I just don't
he'd wear a
it.
bow tie and he'd have avocados in his pockets.
Dude, didn't we both wear bow ties for like first communion?
Okay, Brian. If we're going,
Isn't that
back
how I
to
got the
there-
nickname Mr. Bow?
Did he freeze?
It's
good-
But it's
it's
actually
good that he
great.
froze
Look at
this.
his face.
Yeah, yeah. Leave Mr. Bojangles out of here. Cody, what's your go-to? And then we'll kick off our episode.
Yeah, so it depends on the wedding. I'll play 2 cards, but they're very similar. I'm not really cool enough for a bow tie and suspenders unless I'm a flower man, so that was a one-time event for me. I guess I own them now, so maybe I'll reconsider that. But I'm generally, full suit and lose the jacket. Or if it's a more casual wedding, I go no tie and still same thing. Jacket, just lose the jacket and you're button up, no tie. It's pretty not dad bod, but it's pretty like 57-year-old dad.
I'm ready to get into more jackets. I got I don't have many suits. I have just one, and I don't like how it fits. But so I want to get there.
You got to get suits tailored, and I know it sounds like a pain, but you really do. I used to have to wear a suit every day for work many years ago, and I'm still just wearing all the same suits because then I owned them. I wouldn't be buying them otherwise.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did this part because that's something I've been looking.
We
to
are
get done
too, yeah.
For a while, get my suits tailored, and actually like all my shirts tailored as well.
See, I haven't done shirts, but I'll do dress pants and I'll do jackets.
Do you think Brian caught your sarcasm there?
Nope, not a bit.
He's like,
Look at him. He barely knows where he's at.
Yeah. The camera barely knows too.
No kidding. He must be like on a mountain or something. Look at it.
All right. Let's jump into fantasy. We do have a good episode for you guys today. Brian, why don't you kick off and tell us what that episode is? Did he freeze?
I think he just froze
today.
again.
No, he didn't.
No, I didn't freeze. I just wanted to say this. Relax.
Okay, but you can't do that after you spent the last 10 minutes.
This
freezing.
episode.
Yeah, seriously.
Can you guys
seriously.
relax, please?
All
I'm
the
trying
people
to
are
do
like,
a-
what is this?
I'm trying
What
to
is
do an
this
intro
dead
here.
air that we're listening to? All right, we're ready.
This episode is brought to you by Draft, Macaroni, and Strate-cheese.
Also known as, we're going to talk about some fantasy draft strategies and probably a little bit of some fantasy strategies in general. But Brian was really proud about that name, so I really wanted him to announce it. He loves it. Today is definitely not his tech day, so
No.
uh,
You know what's scary
So
about
let's-
that real quick, Mario, is he's
What?
kind of our tech guy. That's not
Yeah.
encouraging.
Not when you look at that
Hey,
webcam.
I'm
No, it's
living in my
not.
mom's basement. Get off my back.
Also not encouraging.
So that's such a good defense. Like, I live in my mom's basement. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
He hasn't moved
shoulder
into his
hurts.
mansion yet. We want to start off, man, that was a big we wanted to kick off with maybe some auction tips here, because we don't think that the community doesn't talk a lot about this, and it's for good reasons. Like, strategy is pretty tough with auction in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll kick it over to you, Cody, and kind of get your insight on this.
Yeah, I jotted down a couple of things that I think is important when you go in an auction draft. And I know the three of us all love auction drafts, and I think it's the way, things are moving. Snake drafts will keep being a thing, of course, but there's more and more auction drafts every year. And like Mario said, it is harder to come up with strategies in auction drafts because you're no longer trying to build your team based on, what position, what round, or what am I waiting on. You're not waiting on anything, or you're not choosing any round for anything. You're just choosing how much you like a player and thus bidding on them. And so for a guy like me that waits on quarterback, I don't got to be like, okay, I need to chase a quarterback in rounds 8 through 11. I just go bid on the quarterback that I like, who's only $4. So it really simplifies things as far as a draft strategy. It kind of takes it all away. But a couple of things I threw in there is just know your league scoring. It's going to matter so much in an auction, especially when it comes to something like quarterbacks. Are they 4-point passing TD, 6-point passing TD? That's going to change their value a ton. Super flex, PPR. Just know your league in and out, and then kind of adjust your valuation of players based on the scoring format. This is my favorite one, and I still see people not do this, which is crazy to me, is nominate players you don't want. Get everybody else to spend all their money. Like, in my best case scenario is that
And not random players. Like,
you know what I do
you're
actually?
taking like, so I'm sorry, Cody.
No,
So
go ahead,
you're
please.
taking like, maybe you hate Barkley this year, and you know that Barkley is a 50-50 kind of grab bag. Like, there's going to be people spending on him.
Yep.
That's the type of nominations we're talking about. We're not talking about throwing out what would normally go in 14th round running back. We're talking about these guys that you really don't want any stake in. Nominate them up.
100%.
I try to do that with quarterbacks.
100%. Oh, that's where I was just going to go. Is I even
So
take it
hold
a
on,
step
let me
further
pause you on that real quick. The reason for that is, so like, I actually think the opposite way. If you want somebody, I think you should nominate them first, because early on in the draft, a lot of people don't know what they're doing with their money, and they think, so like, say I really want Justin Herbert, right? I'm going to nominate him first. People will see that and go, oh, well, there's still Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, all these other guys available that I can just spend on later. So I'm just going to let him go.
I'll agree in like the first 3 picks of the entire draft, and that's it. Because I know in one auction I was in like last year, somebody nominated CMC, and everyone was like scared. And all of a sudden CMC went for like $62 when he's supposed to go for 78. And I didn't bid on him because maybe it was, but I didn't bid on him, or maybe I was in and I quit because I got scared. Kind of the same thing you're saying. So maybe the first couple picks of the draft, I actually agree with you. I think I tried to wait for you to pop. I tried to pause so it would.
I muted.
But oh, okay. But once I get through those first few picks, I think that for me goes out the window in terms of that I'm no longer going to get a steal in them, because after the first few players getting hot. What I was going to add to what you said on quarterbacks, Mario, is it's one thing to nominate, say, Barkley if you don't like him as a running back. But being a guy that I fade quarterbacks, oh my goodness, do I love putting Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson on the board. I love nothing more than watching other teams spend $40 on a quarterback while I sit there.
And I think this is great conversation, Cody, because like this also gives you a good idea of what you're going to have to bid moving forward in this draft. So say quarterbacks go for ridiculous price. Say we have 3 or 4 guys that are above 50, which I think is pretty high if you have 3.
That's very high for QB. Very high.
Yeah. So say that happens. Now you're looking at your RBs and you're like, okay, there's still going to be people bidding with me, but
I can go get studs then probably.
You almost want to keep that path going. Like, okay, I'll pick my battle here. Like, I mean, there's going to be guys that you want to grab, but you're also going to be the guy. If people are spending that ridiculously, you're going to want to be the guy with money.
You want to be careful, because here's the only reason I hesitate with what you're saying. If you guys remember, I got burnt with it last year because I just kept sitting thinking, man, everybody's just going crazy. I'm going to cash in. And then once I cashed in, they were fine players. Like my season went okay, but
You left
didn't have those
$15 on the
studs.
board.
Yeah, I left 15 on the board. I actually ended up spending 15 on
That's
the defense just to
huge.
be a smart ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big money. Like
It is. It's big money. And it got to a point where, you know, I was getting all the players that I then wanted, but I didn't need all my money then. So like I could have had CMC early instead of, I don't even know. Instead of Aaron Jones. That's a good example. So I could have CMC
JT
instead
ended
of
up
Aaron
going
Jones.
like $50 in ours, and we all
Yeah, I thought it
just
was
watched it
48.
happen. It was
Yeah.
But yeah,
close.
and
So
the only
that's
thing with
like
the Cody's
50.
strategy is that if somebody else is also holding their money, you're kind of screwed at the end still, because then you guys are just bidding against each other for all those last couple guys.
Yeah, I'm actually changing, because kind of what Mario was saying. I think I'm changing my theory a little bit, and I'm not going to hold quite as hard, but I'm going to do everything in my power to get other people to spend. Like, I want to see some dents, and then I'm willing to pull the trigger. What I think I did wrong last year in that draft was I still didn't like the prices at, let's say, player 25. And so I chose to continue sitting thinking I'm just not paying that price. And I sat on the sideline too long. So I think, I just need to get into the games sooner.
You want to go into an auction draft with like 2 or 3 guys in mind that you want no matter what. And like your max idea that you're going to pay for those guys, like whether that's $15 over, $20 over, whatever it is. But I got to tell you, I think the regret of not coming away with those guys is a lot more painful than, you know, having a couple random $5 scrubs like Corey Davis on your team.
That's a hard thing because I think the whole point of auction is you get to go get the players that you want. That's the whole value proposition of an auction draft is I can get who I want. They don't have to come to me on a draft board. So you definitely want to chase those guys you like and be willing to maybe overspend marginally for them because you have such a belief in them. There does become that breaking point where like you got to be willing to throw in the towel at the same time, which can be hard to do. But I agree with you in chasing those players. But like if Najee Harris, who Mario loves, is $84, okay, it's time to let somebody else have Najee Harris. Like,
and so no, that's too much for anybody.
Yep.
Before we start getting into our different topics here, I just want to know real quick, like talk a little bit about dynasty drafts and how you do some dynasty startups. So like pretty soon we have a dynasty startup coming up, and it's going to be a super flex league. Like what do you think the quarterbacks are going to be going for in that league? So we have $500 to start with to bid with. Like what do you think Mahomes is going for?
200. Can we talk in $200?
Sure, let's talk in 200. In a dynasty startup, what do you think Mahomes is going for?
North of
75.
50. Yeah, north of 50 for sure. I mean, north of 50 when I say north of 50.
Right?
Yeah.
When
I say north of 50, north of 50, which is a big number for Mahomes.
I think the first 5 quarterbacks go for
60 to 75.
65 to 75.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just like what the RBs would go for at that.
And honestly, in a super flex with these young stud QBs, if somebody came to me after the draft and said, I spent 135 on Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes, man, they might be all right. I mean, it sounds crazy,
true.
But yeah.
Because like you can build the rest of your team through free agency and the draft, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah, you might take a L this year. That's if you spend that much on them, you might take the L this year, but then you just build for every other year after because you have those are
the nice part about those QBs. They last so long that they're always a valuable asset. Like let's say in 2 years you're like, hey, I got to rebuild.
Literally like,
Patrick Mahomes is going to net you 3 first rounders and a starting running back. Like,
well,
you'll be
I guess
all right.
That's the one piece that I don't think you would send off though. Like you shouldn't just rebuild elsewhere. You should, because like you should keep those 2 if you're going to draft them, and then next year you're going to rebuild and sell them off. Don't do that.
This would definitely be a longer. Yep.
Yeah. So if you think about it, you're like loading up. So say you get Mahomes and Herbert, you get you spent 135. You still have $65. You could probably get a pretty good receiver,
RB.
like
zero
maybe,
RB from there. Like think about like zero RB from there. Get some PPR receivers with those 2 quarterbacks, and then just figure it out at running back.
Yeah, and then just like
Deontay,
maybe you take Chase Edmonds for $2 or something. Like who knows?
Yeah.
He could be.
Damian Harris will probably go for 5 to 8. Like
right.
This isn't good before our draft because this has sounded like a great plan.
I mean, I'm not drafting those QBs. I'm just saying I don't hate it.
No, you would. With Superflex, I think you act differently. You have to.
Or you
See,
just try and
dynasty.
draft
Maybe.
quarterbacks in the league.
Maybe.
Or in the
I
upcoming
definitely-
picks.
Because I think
Rookie
Kirk
picks.
still goes for a 45 to 55.
I would definitely adjust. I don't know that I'm buying Patty specifically because I think the name brings so much price. But I would buy quarterbacks in a dynasty superflex. You're totally right.
Yeah, but Patty's your safest bet.
Herbert might
Yes.
be now, right?
I think Herbert probably is now, and Josh
What about
Allen.
Josh Allen?
Yeah, Josh Allen and Herbert are probably the safer bets, is what I was going to say.
I'd rather have Herbert.
You just don't think
Dynasty,
Josh
I'd
Allen's
rather
going to
have
age
Herbert.
well? Is that the?
Herbert's
Yeah,
terrible.
I mean, we
You guys
talked
are
about that before, yeah.
overhyping him.
Brian's just trying to. We have this draft coming up. Brian's trying to, start the what is
Brian.
it? The smear campaign now.
Guys, he cut his hair again.
I heard
His
Tua's
powers
going to
are
go
gone.
for 110, so you probably just go ahead and put in $100 bet to start it,
God,
Brian.
the dude loves
Cody, I
Tua.
spent 135 on
Loves
Justin
Tua.
Herbert and Tua. What do you think about that?
I
He
think one of them's going to be
loves
really good for you.
Tua? I know, me too.
Well, let's keep this train moving. We'll go over to snake draft strategies, which are a little bit easier to kind of put your thoughts into. I don't know. Maybe it's just like
You mentioned redraft as well.
yeah, redraft, snake draft. I think we could have a whole conversation about auction draft, and I think that is a show that we should do later in this. And I don't mean to like talk about this right now, but I think it is. I think that's something that's super interesting and kind of not enough information out there.
There's just not, I think the reason, but I love talking about it because I like auction drafts, but I think the reason is because there's not really strategies. You're just chasing the players you like. And so it's a lot
I do think
simpler
there's
in that way.
strategies. I just think it's hard to.
I would never go into an
Some-
auction and say, I'm going to try to zero RB because I'm going to see what comes to me. I guess that would be my way of saying it.
Well,
Mario's
if you remember
strategy
last
was
year,
Kittle and
zero wide
Najee, and then he
receiver.
came in like last.
I did not come in last. Came in
I
seventh.
just like
Second
talking
to
about
last.
Second.
Yeah. I felt like I did okay there, and I was the auctioneer, and I felt like I did great.
I think some of that
Yeah,
happened
that-
because you're the auctioneer, not on purpose.
Being the
I
auctioneer
didn't have a
was
clue
the
what
worst
anybody was
part.
going for. I
Right.
couldn't go
And so
back
I
to my
don't
board.
think that was per se a strategy. Is that fair to say? Or is that a strategy?
Oh, well, he's right. I did tell him before. I was like, I'm going for Najee and Kittle, and that's all I knew,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
all I could like prepare for, because that's as much as I was like, okay, I'm going to go hard on these guys, and then everything
like-
else is going to have to come to me.
You know, I
And what is
never,
that? That's
I don't know if I
100,
ever
110
properly
probably?
thanked you,
That's pretty
Cody, for drafting me Michael Pittman and
100.
not Corey Davis. And
Yeah.
then not
While you were
trading
like
me either. Oh
while you
my
were,
god,
like,
that
passed out with a headache, I think it was.
My
Yeah,
tummy
headache.
hurt. I ate too much pizza today.
yeah, I did eat a lot of pizza.
I had 8 slices in 30 minutes. My stomach hurts.
Guys, I was throwing up in the shower. It was miserable. And Cody
Yeah, which
drafted
is
me
pretty
Michael
easy for
Pittman
you, that
and drafted
happened.
himself Corey Davis. He thought he was stealing Corey Davis from me. Then I tried to
I-
trade him. Pittman for Corey
You
Davis
did.
straight up. He turned it down.
I did.
You
I had
love
some
to
Corey
see it.
Davis love last year, man.
Love. to
Brian
see it.
loved
I
him the
also had
most.
Corey Davis love.
That's probably why
But
I'm so
by
out on the
week
Jets
2
this year because I've been burnt by it. Between Chris
Yeah,
Herndon and Corey Davis, like Jets not doing.
Brian was done by week 2 for Corey Davis. He really was. I offered him the exact same, because I traded you. I
'Cause
offered
I
him
dumped
the
him
exact
early,
same trade.
yeah. Mhm.
Yep, and he didn't bite. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna own Corey Davis then, and it sucked. And
And then you did. You held him for so long thinking I would trade you for him.
Yeah, it was bullcrap. Let's get to the
do it.
first snake draft strategy, the most obvious, the most talked about, zero RB.
Mario, why don't you? I know I'm kind of throwing it right back at you, but you've kind of played out zero RB the other day. I know you didn't like how it went, but you played it out in our mock draft. So why don't you give us your thoughts on zero RB?
That's a good point, Cody. I thought you were going to have some fun things to say about this, so I left it open for you, but you're right. I do not like zero RB. I thought I did. I thought I used to love it. I'm going to try to zoom in on this so you guys can see my team, but I don't think we could get too crazy. My team's the middle here.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
I have Jay Herbs is my quarterback. I'm just going to go around the running backs right now. Devontae Adams, CD Lamb, T Higgins at my wide receiver plus flex, Dalton Schultz. Don't care about kicker defense. My RB room. And my first one was it's not technically zero RB because I think it's 6th round and after, but I was panicking. So by
But 5th round pick
5.9
9, you're basically there.
yeah.
I
And I
actually
took Damian Harris.
So I know you don't like this, but I feel like you really came out with two pretty solid running backs here. Like I have faith in Damian Harris for this year at least, not so much next year. And I think Kenneth Walker is going to get some burn. I mean, he can't be too bad. Like he'll probably be a solid flex.
There are two guys that are probably ranked outside of the top 24 RBs, and that's where it gets hard. Is if you go this route, you're just trying to sneak and claw your way to a pair of top 24s. You're not looking for top 10 running backs. You got to just piece together like barely starting caliber, and you're going to be just fine. And I think you're probably sitting just outside of that zone post draft as far as running backs go.
Yeah, it's possible. I do see Ken Walker getting 200 carries, which bodes very well. I do, at least 200 carries.
Yeah.
And Damian Harris is like, I actually don't think the Pats hate him as much as everybody kind of thinks. I think it's more been an injury concern thing, but I got his handcuff and I love Ramondre. Damian is good and Ramondre is good. So like either way, I'm going to have one of the Pats backs and that part still doesn't feel great. So yes, you're right, Brian. Like it could be good, but like the thing is like I have to nail those RBs, and I have 5 here that I went with: Damian Harris, Ken Walker, Chase Edmonds, Ramondre Stevenson, and Tyler Algier, and I have to crush the 2 of those to make this kind of work, or at least do well in, because I'm looking for top 24 here, and I don't know. It could happen. This is personally not my favorite strategy. I think you have such better. Actually, I'll show you. I think you have better odds to you scared me, to land a wide receiver later than you do to get a running back later. And I have some numbers on this, which is if you're trying to get a running back top 24 in rounds 5 through 6, you have a 30% chance. Round 7 to undrafted is 24%. As far as a wide receiver, you have a little bit higher in 5 or 6, though. You at rounds 5 and 6, 37% chance. So it's a little bit better, right? There's a lot of reasons, and I talked about this in an article I wrote, and I don't have them off the top of my head. I didn't put down the main talking points, but RB, maybe RB wide receiver, but RB makes a lot more sense than the 0 RB approach to me.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Something I'll add there, Mario, just looking at your team, and part of this is because it's just the way I draft. I recognize that. I think I would like your team better.
Herbert.
That's what I'm going to say. Like if you took a running back there and then paired that running back with Damian Harris and then Ken Walker, I would feel actually probably really, really good about your team, because I'm not worried about, like, you could have had, Matt Stafford in the 11th round where I got him. So like, if you tell me I can have a running back in the 4th and Matt Stafford, I'll take that over Justin Herbert when I go 0 RB. Now that's not technically 0 RB then. Basically, I'm just saying, hey, draft 3 running backs. You draft 3 receivers in a row, have your, receiver and flex covered, and then figure out the rest. Rather than, I'm not saying just fade RB period. I'm just focusing on receiver.
And Cody, a different strategy that I don't even know if we have listed to talk about, and it's actually one that I could be persuaded to do this: wide receiver, running back. Because I think in the 3 and 4, there's a lot of RBs that I really like right now.
I agree with that.
Travis Etienne being one of them.
And that's, and it might not
just look at our picks. I mean, I got Dobbins in the 4th round. I feel like that's a pretty solid running back.
I think that's a solid running back too. Yeah. Zeke goes there. Yep. Josh Jacobs, depending on how you feel about him.
I took him 5-1.
The disrespect for Zeke is just out of control, and Josh Jacobs, to be quite honest.
Yeah, when Jacob, I don't even like Josh Jacobs, but when he was there in the 5th round, I'm like, I mean, like, it's Josh Jacobs or like the 3rd string running. That's what it felt like. I felt like this is the only, like, I felt like it was the no-brainer pick, even though I don't like Josh Jacobs in the 5th.
Yeah, round. I was hoping that where I picked AJ Dillon, I was hoping that Josh Jacobs was still going to be there.
And AJ Dillon's another one that's going to get 200 carries or touches.
I do think
he touches.
I think AJ Dillon's going to be a stud this year.
One other thing is, if you're going to go the 0 RB route, or even a modified version where you just take, let's say, 3 receivers first and then start running backs, to me it has to be a PPR league. I'm not doing this in standard scoring.
You're right.
And it's a two-headed beast when it comes to this. My receivers are more valuable because of PPR, so that makes drafting them early more valuable. And more running backs come into starting caliber play because of the reception points that come along with a PPR league. So those 3rd down backs all of a sudden become viable starters in a 0 RB setup. in PPR leagues.
And like, let's talk about this in this year's sense. That if you did that, I can't guarantee by August ETN will be there, but right now he's there in the 4th. And like PPR, Brees Hall is another one. Like, yeah, we don't know how he'll do. It's the Jets, but I'm guessing 250 touches is easily in his wheelhouse. That's my take on it. So when you're getting guys with that volume at that level, like in the 4th or the 3rd,
and when you're pairing them with Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, and T. Higgins, holy smokes, man! I mean, there's an argument there. To me, that's the play that makes it make sense. Is a guy like
you think you might be talking me into this a little bit more in the maybe not 3 wide receivers, but I'm liking the wide receiver RB this season. But
it's funny I'm talking you into it because I'm probably.
I think that's probably your most probably your most common draft strategy too, or RB wide receiver. People just but I just meant in the first 4 picks you're taking some combination of RBs and wide receivers.
Yeah. Because really the only quarterbacks and tight ends coming off the board in those first 4 rounds are probably going to be Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and maybe like 1 or 2 more. So over half the teams aren't going to have anything other than wide receivers or running backs through, 4 rounds.
You know what's scary, Cody? And it brings me back to this. Look at the drop off for a top 12 RB after round 2.
It is
so
scary.
You go from round 1, you have a 55% of nailing a top 12. Round 2, you have a 47% of nailing a top 12.
Yep.
After that, it drops down to 25%. And this is data based off of the last 11 seasons. So anything prior to that, it's not counting for.
And Mario,
but in last 11 seasons, this is what we're seeing.
That 2% in round 7 to undrafted, that's Rachaad White.
That is.
There's a 2% chance it's Rachaad White.
I think that's Devonta Freeman one year. Is it Devonta or Devonta?
Oh, yeah, probably was. Devonta. See, I thought it was Devonta. It's an A.
No, it's Devonta.
We'll leave it up to God.
No, Mario, honestly, I tried to talk you into it, and I think it's a viable strategy, but I'm leaning RB this year I let the draft come to me, but that's my preference. So
I think RB wide receiver has some good points to it too. Did Cody freeze?
Basically, I think what it comes down to is just that in your first 2 rounds, you need to pick an RB, mostly because of positional scarcity.
I think that's fair. I think that's a lot. I think this whole group is probably doing that. Cody has me thinking, and then I'm going to have to do some mocks to see what this looks like, but I really want to test out the wide receiver, RB. But I do think it's fair that where we are right now, we're pretty much preaching, please pick a RB within the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a necessity.
Another version that I wouldn't mind mocking out with you is a wide receiver in the 4th and then back to running back in the 5th. Because I really like your Damian Harris as your RB2. I think that value is so good that if you sneak that flex receiver in the 4th, depending who's there, like if there's a Deontay Johnson there. So let's say your T. Higgins becomes a Deontay Johnson. And then in exchange, you get a running back in the 3rd round. It's like, man, that could be
probably
nice.
that would be a J.K. Dobbins through.
Yeah, there you go. So let's say it's J.K. Let's say you're
Zeke.
Yeah, so let's say it's Devontae, CeeDee, J.K. Dobbins, Deontay Johnson, Damian Harris. That's nice.
I think that's nice too. I really like J.K. Dobbins. Damian Harris does, I think, have that like stink a little bit. I think Lenny and James Conner would go in that round 3 as well, though. Maybe
Lenny's probably Connor. Lenny's probably at the turn, I would think. Maybe real early round 3.
David Montgomery is in that list. Think about that.
See, I'd rather have I'd rather have one of those guys, a Demont or a Dobbins, along with like a Deontay, than I would T. Higgins and whatever running backs in the 4th.
There's some good ones in the 4th though, because I think some of them last, but I guess it depends on where you're.
You'd be talking Jacobs and CEH and those guys. Then I would think
you might get Monty in the 4th. Did any of us draft him in the last?
No,
I think Rob picked him.
He probably did. He loves Monty.
Rob, let us know where you picked him.
I think he typically goes right around Zeke and Brees Hall, but I can't remember. That
Maybe
might
like
be
a
I think he
3-4
goes.
turn
I think he
player.
goes before them.
All he says is
all
Monty.
Rob.
That's so
All
hard.
Rob is
That's
yeah.
so
All
hard.
he
All he has
has.
to say.
This is all he has.
Oh.
Well, so I
Yeah.
think I would love to. I mean, Robbie and I are going to do a mock on Wednesday, so I will have to have this. What do you want me to do? Wide receiver, RB, wide receiver,
Well,
RB?
you already kind of did the wide receiver thing. Why don't I just be a silent drafter
Yes.
and do that?
Yes.
And you guys can talk
Let me
about it.
draft my RBs. I'm
Yeah.
going to go RB wide receiver, and we'll see how that looks too.
I'm going receiver, RB, receiver, RB. That's my plan.
Okay.
I can't tell if you guys are joking. Like thinking 5 rounds into the draft that the guys that you want are still going to be there.
They will be.
What's what I forced to do it? I had to do it right here, dude. It
Yeah,
sucked. I panicked and went with Damian. I didn't know what to do.
I'm like panicked when Justin Herbert, who's taking a quarterback there. Holy
No,
smokes!
I actually love that pick.
I like
didn't-
Herbert too, but I just
because here was the thing, Cody. I committed to the 0 RB here. So I'll give you background why I had to go Herbert here. I committed to 0 RB. There's not a tight end I'm touching in the 4th. Not happening, dude.
Agreed.
I'm not doing. This will transition very well into what we're going to talk about next. I actually am fading all tight ends. I don't trust Travis Kelce. I don't trust Mark Andrews enough to pick them at their ADP. Like, I think they'll be great. I have Mark Andrews as my 1. I know that's not consensus. And Travis Kelce is my 2. So I'm not getting crazy bold takes. I am just not doing it. This is not the year for me to take them in 1 or 2 first rounds. Not for me.
So for me, it's this. I actually almost completely
did.
agree with you. Yeah, but I was going to say, I almost completely agree with you. I hate the rounds 3 and 4 tight ends at their price. But if Andrews or Kelce gets to that 2-3 turn, they tempt me there. And that's what happened. It was right at the turn. And that's the spot where those 2 will tempt me. But that's the only ones. Other than that, I'm waiting.
I'll take Kelce in the first round. Give him to me in the first round. Late first round.
I loved Andrews at pick 20. What did I take him to pick 25 maybe? I love that.
24.
Yeah.
24,
Yeah.
I just think Kelce is going to be he's the only one there. He's been tight end 1 for the last 10 years until last year where he barely lost to Andrews. And that's just a position that is always a complete crapshoot. Like, you never know what you're getting.
So there's a lot of, and I can't wait to talk about this again because it was my favorite moment probably since we've been doing this show.
It was great.
There's a lot of tight ends that are late. Like you have Cole Kmet this year specifically. I don't always feel this way. Sometimes I think it's trash game back there. I think Cole Kmet could load up on targets. I think Robert Tonyan's going to be big in this offense. Granted, he tore his ACL midway through the season, so we'll see how many he's going to miss. I'm guessing he misses 1 or 2 weeks, probably.
Pat Fryermuth is another.
Fryermuth, if you believe in the Muth. If the Muth is loose.
Brian and I like Dawson Knox more than you do, but Dawson Knox would fall in that family as well. I know you don't love him, but I think he's a player that has,
dude, I think you guys are
crazy.
I'm buying
like,
I think every year we say this about the tight end wasteland, and then every year everyone's proven wrong, and it's the same 4 guys that have great years. Every single year we talk these guys up. I do think Fryermuth is a stud, but he's losing Ben, and he's bringing in Mitch and you and.
Without getting player heavy, I'm not buying Fryermuth at that because he goes 11th, I think, tight end 11. I'm talking the 14 through 18 guys. I like Cole Kmet, 13 through 18. Cole Kmet, Irv Smith Jr., Robert Tonyan. Those are the dirties. David Njoku maybe, but I just don't.
What about Albert O, bruh?
So let me ask you this. This is good then. So Brian, are you really in all drafts chasing one of those? And I don't know where your tier break is. Are you chasing a top 4 tight end?
For sure. Like it's like I have a tier break at like number 4. Like Darren Waller's like the last guy in that.
And
tier.
Is Pitts in or out, or who's your 4?
I would take Pitts. There's not many options in Atlanta, and he had 1,000 yards last year with no touchdown or 1 touchdown.
Are you out on Kittle?
Kittle's. I don't know where I'm at with Kittle, but Kelce.
So probably 4 guys where you feel good.
Honestly, I feel good with Kelce, Pitts, probably Andrews, Waller.
That's
and then it's like Kittle and Dawson Knox or Dalton Schultz, not Knox. are like right on the edge. Like I want one of those 6 guys.
Real quick, Brian, because you brought this up and I think it's heinous. You said this never pans out. George Kittle was a tight end 15 when he was drafted 16, and I love that value. I got Darren Wall.
Was he a rookie?
He was
No.
It was second year, right?
Yeah.
And everybody said this is great value. So I listened to them, but you got Darren Waller,
Mark
who you watched
Andrews
on
is
Hard
another.
Knocks, look amazing. Mark Andrews, a lot of these guys come from this late tight end that you're talking about.
Tight
The only
ends.
one that hasn't in years is Kelsey.
That's a big
And
thing talked
Pitts.
about is how long it takes tight ends to come around. Like I still think TJ Hawkinson, I'm not saying this year. I think the best is still to come with a guy like that because I think we've just painted him as this picture of like, oh, well, he hasn't done it. Well, yeah, he's like 24, 25. Like tight ends are in their prime 27 to 30.
I think what it is we've seen these guys. We've seen the flashes from Gesicki, from Knox, from Freiermuth, from Hawkinson. But like they just don't get the targets like they should. I mean, Hawkinson kind of was last year, except he got hurt, but they're not a big part of the offense like we want them to be.
Dude, you're spot on. So like, and that's where I'm at with the tight ends, because like the guys that I specifically have been name dropping in this episode, Cole Kmet, I think is going to get loaded with targets. Irv Smith should be somewhere from 85 to 100. Like Robert Tonyan should be loaded with targets. Those are the late ones that I'm targeting. I love TJ Hawkinson as like a player, and Gesicki especially. Both of them I think are very talented, but with the wide receiver cores that they have, I'm fading.
Counterpoint to your Tonyan and Irv Smith is that Kirk Cousins has really, I feel like, never supported a tight end.
No, Jordan Reed wasn't a good one.
I mean, that was back in Washington, though.
Tyler Conklin had 85. It's the same system now, though.
And then you look at Aaron Rodgers, and he hasn't done anything with anyone except for Jermichael Finley.
Tonyan was
he had 10
top
touchdowns.
7.
I think it wasn't 10 touchdowns.
It was a massive amount of touchdowns. There's touchdowns available.
I want to say something.
There are touchdowns available. I agree with you there, but
I'm going to cut you guys off real quick because I just realized something. Hey, everyone, we decided to start talking about whether you take QBs or tight ends early or late as a draft strategy. We didn't really transition this.
Morris said this leads perfectly into our next section and then just launched right into it without saying.
Did I not mention taking a tight end late?
It just hit me that I don't think we did. So
well, I think I did. I talked about not taking the big ones, but maybe I didn't completely finish my sentence.
So, Mario, let me throw you something where I think, and I say this from a place of I'm the same person, so this isn't like accusational because I'm definitely the same person.
Bring it on, Cody.
I've always been one to draft tight ends late, and I'm not against drafting a tight end late. I do think you are super hyped about a lot of nobodies this year. At one point in our Dynasty League, you were rostering like 6 tight ends that were owned in like less than 10% of leagues.
Well,
I think
you're
way
sell
too
them all for
hyped.
second round
Way
pick.
too hyped.
Time. You hold
I'm
your
not trying
roll.
to beat you up. No, I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm trying to.
Your roll.
You already did. There's. I'm gonna just try to beat Charlie from Always Sunny, and I haven't even watched the full series. The guys that I named are the ones that I am currently buying. So you could talk about Irv Smith. I know you like Cole Kmet. You could talk about Robert Tonyan, but I think you're buying a little bit on that one.
I'm buying Tonyan. Tonyan and Kmet.
Brian asked me about Albert O. I said I'm not still buying on that.
You're off of Mo Alley Cox now.
Yeah, that's another one.
Way off on Mo Alley.
So you're going to be way off on these
You
other guys
rostered him for a month. You weren't that off.
I have given you good reasons as to why Irv Smith is going to get targets in the offense that was ran in Washington. It's Connell. It's a different offense. It's going to be a pass-heavy offense. Conklin had 85 targets last year. You don't think Irv Smith, who was like a huge, big, I think it was second-round draft pick, he's just had injury concerns. But I'm not going all in on him. I'm taking him in 13th with another guy like Cole Kmet, who's getting the targets there.
I like Cole Kmet better because you can't say the statement who's getting the targets in many.
No, you could though. Brian's trying to talk about Kirk not supporting any tight ends. He threw to Tyler Conklin 85 times. He split it with 2 guys for the past 3 years. Jordan Reed was a stud if he was healthy.
Kyle Rudolph was always kind of annoying to own.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Rudolph has killed a lot of tight end value in Minnesota. He literally has. He is split.
I remember
whoever
owning
it's
him and
been
it wasn't
there.
fun. Yep.
Oh yeah, he was always a waiver wire guy, like his entire career.
There was even times where he was drafted quite a bit higher than being a waiver wire guy, but he would always disappoint you.
Always. He'd have like
So-
1 3-touchdown game a year, and everybody would call him Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer, and then they would drop him 2 weeks later.
So basically, here's where we are. Brian's trying in all of his
I'd load
might to
these
get a
guys.
tight end early.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I'm buying Kelsey or Andrews in the very end of 2 or into 3,
Gross.
but they don't get there much. So they rarely get there, and so I'm ending up going late on tight end. So I'm not. I mean, me beating you up, like I'm living in the same zone as you are, Mario.
You know
because
what,
I just can't pay
Cody?
the price.
It hasn't happened in a best ball. It hasn't happened in a mock. Mark Andrews at the turn, the 2-3 turn, is one that I would consider. It hasn't ever happened yet. So obviously my
It was a
whole
weird one when it
process
did,
is
yeah.
I'm still like ignoring it. I guess because my eyes are so stuck on Dalton Schultz in the 6th or 7th that I'm always like, let's go bait. Because it's Dalton Schultz in the 6th or 7th. If I fade him, then I'm loading up 2 to 3. And that sounds crazy. I am loading up 2 to 3, depending on roster size, probably typically 2. But I will try 2 or 3 of those late guys.
And for me, that too, I'm with you. So like this is where we probably would be a little different strategy than Brian this year. If I don't get that 2-3 turn guy, then it's probably going to be Dawson Knox and either Robert Tonyan or Cole Kmet. That's my combos I'm going for.
I hate that like tight end. I think it's 7 through 11. It's Gesicki.
Knox would be the end of it.
It's
I think.
Knox.
Yeah.
It's
Hawkinson.
there's Hawkinson is in there.
See, I'll buy Hawkinson. and
Fryermuth
Knox
is
that
in there.
group. That's the 2 I'll buy in that group for me.
It's so dirty because they still
Probably
actually I
Njoku.
like Ertz. I will buy Ertz because he usually goes in like round 8 or 9.
8, 9. Yeah, that's a lot of those guys are. I think Hawkinson might go like round 7. He's a smidge earlier, I think. Yeah.
Man.
Okay. Let's hit my
think
favorite
there's-
topic. Let's do it. We hit a lot of times. Let's hit my favorite topic. Can we please do it, Mario? Please, please, please,
No.
please, 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 please.
What is it? Is it best available?
Please, please, please. No, no, no. The other half of we haven't talked about QBs.
Oh. Would you? Where are you buying your QB, Cody?
It's more who am I buying, and then where do I feel like I got to do it at? So I've got my target
Obviously,
players.
not
Go
Herbert
ahead.
at 4.
No. Well, every year in fantasy, I kind of call my shot on some later QBs, and they're not necessarily low ranked QBs. They're just going late. And I kind of, those are my couple guys, and I pull the trigger. I don't set around. I kind of try to feel the board. Yeah, go ahead.
Who's the currently? Who is your running for the guy? Because I think it's Stafford, and I think that's kind of gross.
It's Stafford and Carr.
Damn.
I like Stafford a lot more than Carr.
Look at this draft right here. Stafford in the 11th man.
I know.
I'll
That's
take
a
that
steal.
all day. All day.
He was what, QB5 last year?
Carr was still on the
Yeah.
board. Here's what it was. I actually wasn't
Yes,
ready to take a
QB5.
QB because I still like the skill players, but it was just too sweet. Like I expected to own Carr. That's what I should say.
Come
I
on.
expected to
What are
own
you
Carr.
talking about? There
Stafford
were
was
still good skill players in the 11th. I picked Michael Carter. Mario picked Tyler Alligator.
Well, I can't see the rest of the draft board, but that's where I pulled the trigger. So I should say
yeah,
right
I think that's a
before that
great
is what I
spot to
should
take
say.
him. When you're like questioning,
yeah, I pulled it
like,
because
is this guy even
obviously I
going to
liked
get
it, I wouldn't have done it.
25% of snaps? Then yeah, you pick a quarterback there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did it, so obviously I liked it. But I mean, I wasn't necessarily committed per se to a QB yet, is what I'm saying. But he was just sitting there. I'm like, this is too good a value. I got to do it. Now, if I miss on him, I'm perfectly happy with Derek Carr this year. Perfectly happy. He will be a top 10 QB.
I mean, Cody, your team looks pretty stacked except for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
And that was just a value pick. It was 6th round. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, because I'd rather play Treylon Burks in that spot.
Or Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk being too.
What would I be
slept on
starting?
right
I'd
now.
be starting Jonathan
Ayuk I'm
Taylor,
hyped on.
Josh Jacobs, Deontay.
But I still got to see it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Ayuk could be your week 1
Oh,
starter.
Mike
I'm not
Evans.
going to lie.
Yeah. First
I feel
flex.
like
My
Ayuk
flex is
is
my weak
Over
spot.
Clyde.
My flex is my weak spot, and it's because of Andrews. That's where I struggle.
Yeah, because you would have probably a Cole Kmet, your Knox.
And
just
and
don't-
a
I'm not
second
buying
round
that.
something.
So Cody, but you could have picked like I'm just looking at mine and Mario's 6 rounders. You could have gotten Amari Cooper.
What pick was that?
That was 6-6.
Okay, so I couldn't have got
Or
him.
were you? Yeah, you were at the end of 6. So I feel like
Yeah.
Amari Cooper's a better flex than Clyde Edwards. I mean, he's the only one in
But
Cleveland.
I couldn't have had Amari Cooper. I was 6'12".
Oh, you're right. I'm
He's
stupid.
like, oh, you're at the end of 6. He's like, it was 6.
Oh, sorry.
Why
Let me look
didn't
at
you get
7th
him?
round.
Look at 7-1 and Ford.
Well,
Brian's got a
7
guy that's out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I picked a lot of those guys. Hopkins.
It gets kind of
Deshaun
gross right there,
Watson.
guys. I like the rookies there, but I don't feel good about it. Like it gets kind of gross there in the 7th round.
Yeah, it kind of does. Like Hopkins, I didn't want to pick, but he was like projected to even go in like the 5th. So I feel like I was like 2 rounds behind on him. And I was like, well, I don't know. I took Jacoby Myers later on. I actually wanted to take Ayuk, but Cody took him 4 picks before me or 5 picks before me. And then I wanted, who was it? Drake London. I think Cody took him from me too. Maybe
I
Cody
took
didn't
Burks
take him,
and
actually.
London, I think. Or did I just take Burks?
I
just
I
took
thought you had London too.
I thought I did as well.
This ain't a part of the episode that we're gonna do today. It's definitely, we already graded them, but I really freaking hate Brian's RB2 through tight end and also having an RB as his flex.
I also hated my receivers because like the guys I wanted literally got picked right before me.
You're
And
going
then I
with
got-
Amari Cooper, who might be with Brissett all year, and DeAndre Hopkins, who's playing 12 games.
Hey, I actually think that Jacoby Myers is really underrated. I got him in the 10th
Yeah, I like your
round.
AJ Dillon and Jacoby Myers on the bench, I suppose. But like, man, even I think I like Tim Patrick more than I like Jacoby.
Really? That's
Yep.
surprising. I don't. I like Jacoby more.
Let's do
carried
some
away.
actual philosophy talk.
Let's-
QB.
yeah,
You
yeah,
guys
yeah. So
both-
going
you
back
guys
to
are both
QB.
willing to take them early. Clearly, you both did it. So
It just
give-
depends. I am very like flip floppy on this, Cody, because like one time you could ask me this and I'll be like, give me it late. I'll take a QB late. But there's times in the draft where, in this case, it was different because I couldn't draft. I was refusing to draft an RB as long as I could. So by 4-4, I was looking at wide receiver, tight ends. That's all I could choose from outside of QB. Well, I found out I hated all the wide receiver tight ends that were going there, so I went a QB that early. How do I normally process that? I'd be looking at wide receiver or RB right there. But again, if it's a position where I'm like, I hate all of these players that are going within this ADP, but here's a stud QB, just do it. That's me. That's how I approach it. I've had success drafting him later. I had Aaron Rodgers the year he went in 10th round, and he was a tight or QB3, I think, that year. Like, I think there's value there. There's value there every single year. You don't hit every time, but there is value there. But again, like if I'm not seeing somebody I like, I just go with the for sure QB that I know will be
I think that's an easy decision. And that's kind of what I did too. Like Josh Allen his ADP is like 22. Like he's mid-second round or whatever. And I
like Brian's
near the
price on
end of the
Josh
third.
Allen better than Herbert's price there, personally.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, you're only
like-
what, 7 picks difference? And I mean, well, 9 picks difference, I guess. But yeah.
Why do you like it so much more?
I think Josh Allen's in his own tier for me personally, with the leggies, those
he's got
thighs.
the runs.
Yeah,
Looks good in
If he-
shorts.
but I don't want to do it. But I think that price is good on Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen at almost the end of the 3rd round, or at least mid.
Do you know what the difference of points between them two was last year?
I'm not looking at last year.
Oh, just this year, huh?
He got you good.
What is it?
It's 22 points.
Wow,
That's a whole game, Mario.
I'm just messing.
I got him a whole round later. Like, if you like that value, you're gonna love Justin Herbert at 4-4.
I'm gonna love. You know what I'm actually gonna love? Real talk. Matthew Stafford 11-1.
I don't think that's the one.
See, let me ask you. Let me paint it this way.
I think there's. I don't think he's not the one. I think there's better though.
Okay.
More.
Let me
upside,
paint it
more
this
upside.
way. This is actually a really good argument for it. Now you gotta, and I'm not saying I'm great at this. I'm saying you gotta know if you're good at this. You gotta be able to pick, because you brought up a good thing where you drafted Aaron Rodgers at 10 and he finished 3. The game here is get a better finish than where you drafted him. I'm not trying to draft the QB 12.
Yeah.
I'm trying to draft the QB late that I think is going to be QB7, QB6,
Yeah.
QB5.
So that's QB 11 off the board, Stafford? 10,
Ish.
11?
10 maybe, yeah.
What do you have him
I don't
ranked?
think it
'Cause I don't
was,
think
at
you have
least
him
in
that
this
much
mock
higher.
draft. He might be ADP there, but I don't think in this draft he was.
You think he was later than that, Brian?
I don't think he was.
No, I think he was earlier than that.
No, I don't
this
think he was
mock.
earlier because people were taking QBs. I don't. Think
I
he
didn't
was
think people
earlier.
really were taking QBs, but
I have
I'm not looking at the
Stafford
board, so I
at
don't know.
6.
See, that's such a. I guess this is where our philosophy.
You're obsessed with the
changed.
running. Yeah, you're obsessed with the running. So that's where you're gonna hate him.
I'm
You're just
obsessed with the
inherently gonna hate him.
upside. I'm obsessed with the upside.
See,
Wherever I can find the
here's what's
most
funny.
upside, and he's got such a higher floor than a lot of the guys that I'll probably take there.
And that's the way I draft QBs. I don't want to say I'm not chasing upside. I'm not chasing QB1 with his legs. I'm chasing. I think this guy could be QB5 to 7, and I got him in the 11th round. Yeah, if that makes any sense. So I'm not drafting him thinking he could be the QB1. I
think that's kind of where the best available value comes into play. Like I remember, I think it was 2-3 years ago. When we were drafting out at that one cabin, we drafted down in the basement. And I was staring at Allen Robinson in like the 6th round, and I just absolutely like Allen Robinson is not a sexy name. And I didn't have anybody else to take. So I took him, which was like 2 rounds behind his ADP. And then he was a stud the entire year. And now I love Allen Robinson. I mean, ADPs are there for a reason. Like if you don't know who to pick, I think taking the guy that's fallen 2 rounds is normally a pretty safe move.
Yeah.
So I was just looking, and in your defense, Cody, there's not really any QBs that I would probably take over Stafford at that point. Like if I could get Stafford there, I probably would.
Carr was my next guy, but I'll take Stafford over Carr.
Carr ended up going later in that round. Tom Brady, then Carr, followed by Aaron Rodgers, Trey Lance, Tua, Kirk, Justin Fields. And I don't
know how Trey Lance goes there.
Jay Fields or Trey Lance. Brian,
yeah, but you're talking like QB
Deshaun Watson
by the time he went, probably. I mean,
yeah, he was late there. I don't know what QB he is though.
It's not like he went early. I mean, we're talking the 12th round.
That would be the 12th round. Yep,
yeah.
12-5. So in your defense, Matthew Stafford is probably the guy that I would go there if I could. Sometimes I don't end up getting them in best balls or box often though, because either I probably draft QBs earlier. Is probably what happens.
I think so. Real quick, let me just give you my reasoning for Deshaun Watson and AJ Dillon since he's on my bench. I pretty much just picked them both to use as trade bait. Like I was like, if this were a real draft and I'm looking at this gross crop of people in the 9th round, like why not take the top 3 quarterback that, you know, on the off chance he plays 10 games this year and then trade him later. Same with AJ Dillon.
You're gonna need to trade bump for some wide receivers in this team.
Oh, for sure.
Those wide receivers hurting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't hate Amari Cooper, I guess. Like if he's your second wide receiver, you feel all right with him. And honestly, my draft only got this way because Bill reached for Michael Pittman, and that kind of threw off everything. Like I think I was going to take him in like the 3rd round on the comeback, and Bill took him in the 2nd or something. Yeah, maybe that wasn't even a reach by Bill, but I felt like it was.
Those guys, ADP is going to grow. Pittman, ETN, they're all going to go up.
Yeah.
You might see Cortland go up a little bit.
Let me throw one last, and I feel like I might be beating like a dead horse here, but I just want to because I don't want people to just think punt QB. My goal isn't punt QB, and sometimes I feel like that's the way I
kind of it. I think yeah.
It's not punt QB. It is pick the guy. It is pick the couple of guys that I think are inside the top 10 QBs and what's as late as I can get them. And so like what I want to say to people is like, I'm not saying ignore QB until round 14 and whatever's there is your quarterback for the year. That's not my take at all. If that makes any sense. I'm afraid sometimes when people say like wait on QB or fade QB, they're just like, I'm not taking a QB till the 12th.
Yeah, but you're making the strategy way tougher. So like, do you narrow this down to 2 or 3 guys, or is it just one guy?
Yep. If for me right now, it's Stafford and Carr, and I pull the trigger when I feel like I got to do it to get one of them.
Okay, so you'll leave every draft with one of them.
I mean, there's going to be drafts that I could potentially get burned, but I would say with 90% success, I'll leave with one of them.
I see.
But that's been, I mean, you know, the QBs I've had
you're going home with Kirky Kirk.
And honestly, it'll be Kirk, and then I'll pair somebody like Kirk with a higher upside guy, like a Trey Lance. Then, like 13th, 14th round, I'll take 2 of them just to try to band-aid us get together. Then that's my escape plan.
Yeah, that's
And
what
I
I
do
did with
that
my
with tight
receivers.
Yeah.
So, like you've seen me in past years, Mario. Like, there's specific QBs that I've chased every year. It's not just a like I'm taking QB last guy in the league. That's not at all my take. I just think the value is so good on a couple guys every year. There's always a couple of guys where I'm like, okay, this is the QB7 and the QB9, like, and I can get them in the 12th round. Game on.
The 2 that I remember the most, and I guess this is where like maybe, and I didn't buy it then though, so it's kind of funny that we're having this Matthew Stafford conversation. The 2 that I remember the most are Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott.
And Stafford last year. Stafford was like what, QB3 last year, and I
QB5,
QB4?
I think.
QB5. I mean, I did it with Stafford last year. He was drafted around here.
It's kind of crazy he's going that late, I feel like, and that somebody took Tom Brady right after him, because I just feel like, I don't know. I like Stafford a lot more than I like Tom Brady this year.
Yeah, well, Tom was after him, but yeah, it is. I mean, he's going later, but like when you talk about the guys that are going in front of him, it's not that insane, is it?
QB wise, you mean?
Yeah,
I think that group's bunched pretty close. For
that's
me.
tough.
I feel like
But
I
when
should
I say-
also point out that
when
on
I
my
say-
team with DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, you probably, and by probably, I mean you definitely don't want 2 guys that are going to be suspended a big chunk of the year, because you basically just wasted 2 draft picks. I knew this was a mock, so I wasn't really taking it too seriously or anything like that. But I have done this in the past a lot, and it always burns. It
You taking
always
Calvin
burns
Ridley
me.
this year at
So-
all?
Yeah, totally.
Cody, do you know when our first? Because I'd love to come back to this. I want to talk more
Okay.
about auction strategy, and maybe we need to get some more auction mocks set up so we can have these sort of discussions. So, do you know when our first auction mock is, or no?
Yeah, let me look at the calendar. Keep talking a little and I'll get it for you, because I had changed it on
Well,
the calendar. Or I put it on the
I
calendar,
did-
I should say.
I did think it was pretty cool that how our video is set up is our team right above, and that was all accidental.
It is nice. I
Look
like
at
it too.
Look at that, Brian.
You're pretty great at this, Mario. You should think about doing this full time.
You're like so good at this.
I was thinking about it. There's been a lot of job offers.
Oh my
coming
god! And you
way,
picked
so-
Tunyon in the 13th round. Do you want to move?
Load
in
him
with
up.
me?
Oh, did I even get to talk about the Tunyon?
No, why don't you talk on it for a second?
That was so generic, Cody. Work on your transitions. Jesus Christ. I stole him from Rob. It was the steal of the year, dude. If this was a real draft, I would love it even more, but it was a mock. So kind of sucks, because I do want to do something like that to him in a real draft. Make him pay a ton. But he's like, I'm going to take, this is him. I'm going to take my guy. I'm going to take my
Cody,
guy.
did Mario just get mad at you for leading him in when I had already let him in and he didn't pick up on it, and so you had to like make it incredibly obvious for him? And
I just
then he got mad
take
at
the
you?
punches. I just eat
Yeah.
them.
What a jerk! We're abused over here.
Wait,
Mario,
I
I
didn't even know
actually,
that Brian
I'm
let
gonna
me
get,
in.
I'm gonna get abused some more, because I don't think I actually put an auction mock on there, and I was probably thinking it's gonna be really hard to get through it quick enough for.
What
Should
about
we
the
do
basement?
tomorrow?
You could try it, but you're probably only gonna get 5 rounds in, but that might be okay.
You think auction's way quicker? Maybe not than 30 seconds.
I don't think so. Because that 30 seconds is a lot of times 10 or 12
To
seconds.
be
and
determined.
You're not getting any
I need-
auction done that quick.
I want some auction mocks. I
Yeah.
think they'll be fun.
Cool.
Boys, any last thoughts on draft strategy? Cody,
Can
give a 30-second spiel of your draft strategy.
Yeah, I mean, my overall draft strategy is QB and wide receiver. Sorry, not QB. RB and wide
on,
receiver
dude.
early. If the right tight end's there, I'll mix them in. But the vast majority of my drafts are going to come away the first 5 rounds with 3 receivers and 2 running backs in some order. The vast majority of them will look like that.
Love it. Love it. Brian?
For me, it depends. If it's auction, I'm going after the guys I want. If it's snake, then I'm just taking like what's available to me. First 2 rounds, I'm probably taking the guys I want. After that, I'm looking for the best available guys
Best
that
available.
are falling at their ADP. If that means Josh Allen late in the 3rd round, then I'm taking him, because oftentimes those guys are The experts have ranked them there for a reason.
So what I'm hearing from that, Cody, is please let him borrow your fanny pack and visor so he can go bargain hunting at every draft.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a
Mario,
bargain.
before I put it back to you, can I add one thing to something he said there real quick?
Of course you can, buddy.
Yeah, and we probably should have gave more time to this, but I just want to make it a quick thing. So, he had kind of said chase the bargains late, which I think is true, but my biggest thing late is chase the upside. You're not looking for a starter. You're not just taste the upside. Don't take the handcuffs on teams where there's a clear RB1 like Rashad White. Chase the upside where there's a path to work.
I thought I was going to agree with you on all of this, and then you had to just take
We
the
actually
stab.
do agree.
Yeah.
We just disagree on if there's a path to work for him. So that's okay. We
There's
can disagree on that part
upside
of it.
there.
Yeah, we would disagree on that. So
Owning a handcuff is like the most soul crushing thing when they're just a handcuff for the entire year.
Yeah. Just chase the upside. Honestly, late. There's no point in taking the guy that you know is
Rookies.
going to get 112 carries. Like, chase the upside.
I don't have much of a draft strategy. I just go for it. No, I'm kidding. I think this year, I think my strategy changes year by year. It really does. It depends on who's going where. And currently, my strategy is probably somewhere along the lines: running back, wide receiver, get my tight end 6, and probably a quarterback in between 1st and 8th. That is my current setup that I've been doing a lot in best balls and a lot in mock drafts. And that I'm not telling anybody to do that straightforward exactly how that's saying, but I try to load up on those skill positions, kind of fill my team by probably 9th round.
I probably should have mentioned this also, but every year that I've gone 0 RB, which was a lot up until 2 years ago. But I always went 0 RB up until 2 years ago, and it always burnt me. Always burnt me.
That. I've lived that pain too, and I don't
Like
know
Cody,
why,
that
'cause it looks like it would on paper.
We took Odell, Antonio
And
Brown,
Juju. It was
Michael
Odell and
Thomas,
Juju.
and
Yep.
we were right next to each other, and we
Yep.
just got burnt. And ever since then, I have done Travis Kelce in the first, followed up by taking a quarterback pretty early, and that's been working for me the last 2 years. So I'm going to keep rolling with that.
You could get a top 12 wide receiver in the 3rd and 4th, 38% in the 3rd, 24% in the 4th for a top 12. You know what that is for a top 12 for RB? 25 to 14. Significantly worse.
It is.
Don't 0 RB.
Agreed.
Don't do it.
Agreed.
Everything's better about wide receivers later from 3rd round to 6th round. 7 through undrafted is a little bit of a crapshoot. So.
And if I remember right, let me look real quick. I think there was a higher success rate of at least being like top 12 and top 24 for 1st-round receivers compared to running backs. So there is a slight argument for receiver, running back, if that makes, I think, if I remember right.
Can we go back in the show?
Like 1st-round
just,
receivers are extremely safe, I think.
Can we insert at the beginning of the show just to skip to like 1 hour and 11 minutes just to get that little recap? Because that's probably all we said over and over
All
again.
the good stuff. Yeah.
It's right here, Cody.
Okay.
Take a wide receiver in that. If you take a wide receiver in that 1st round, it does tend to edge out the running back in all categories: top 5, top 12, top 24.
More on this later, folks.
Yeah. After that, it changes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much if you stayed with us to tune in on our Brian. God, he loves dead air, dude. It's easy.
Draft, macaroni, and Strate-cheese.
I'm not saying that. I would stumble my words over and over.
Dude, I didn't even know what you were leading me into. You just said, thanks for joining us, and then you pointed at me.
Come on, you smiled instantly. You knew. You had to think about it. You went like this.
He was cheesing, Strate-cheesing.
We will be back on Wednesday with a mock draft. Not sure if Cody's going to let me do an auction, but I would really like to. So hopefully that's what we're doing. If you guys aren't already, check us out on Twitter at DadBodFS, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, Dadbod Fantasy Squad. And we'll be posting these recordings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the major streaming platforms, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. For myself, for Strate-cheese, and Cody, peace.